So, welcome back to another episode of the classic Lizard Canary with me, Andy Beasley. It's the end of the breeding season effectively now, so we're now in July 2025. A sure sign that the breeding season's over is when you walk in the bird room in the morning or any time of the day and you see the feathers on the floor, because the birds are well and truly in the molt already. So all the youngsters are away, all singled off now. Ended up around about 20 lizard canaries in the end from 5 matched pairs, bonded pairs. One pair did kind of blank for me, unfortunately, but so the 20 effectively are off 4. As you know, I did highlight there were some challenges earlier on in the season, with dead in shell and so on, but it is what it is, so that probably impacted me a little bit. But the key thing is there'll be enough with the adults and youngsters to select from for me for my breeding stock for next year, and then hopefully enough as well to satisfy a few people that have asked me for birds that I promised birds to some time ago. Just a quick one before I get into any more detail. You'll notice some footage running in the background, and you'll know from previous episodes that I've been highlighting the nature walks and so on, where I've been collecting sort of green food and stuff like that for the birds, and kind of a bit of commentary about the wild birds and what's going on. Well, you'll notice in the background on this episode, I'm on the water. So for those that don't know, for the last 15 years, one particular weekend in June, I take part in a narrowboat trip with a number of family members, and that slow pace on the British Canal network, normally on the Grand Union and the Oxford Canal, that we do once a year. You get to see quite a lot of nature, a lot of bird life, not just kind of waterborne birds, but obviously birds like goldfinches, bullfinches, greenfinches, linnets, etc. While we're out and about on the narrowboat. So I thought I'd just let that kind of play in the background. You will notice kind of a bit of a running theme. You'll remember on a previous episode I mentioned how the landowner near me had cleared a bit of the land. Well, you'll see on some of the footage in the background some land clearance of mass, I should say, on the canal trip, and that's because HS2 is actually being developed as we speak alongside the canal on certain parts of the Oxford Canal, certainly. So we've definitely seen the views change over the years, I can assure you, with the many times we've done that trip. And let's hope that kind of gets back to normality at some point in the not too distant future, when all of those works are over. It's clearly got a long way to go yet, but let's see. And then it kind of ends, the footage in the background, with some footage from a trip that my brother, myself and my parents did down to Dorset, long weekend, bank holiday in May, where we took a stroll along Chesil Beach, which you can see. You can also see the beach at Weymouth, and again, saw a lot of wildlife, a lot of birds, in particularly on Chesil Beach, a lot of linnets and a lot of goldfinches. So that was quite a sight to behold. So that's all just kind of running in the background, but just something a little bit different. As I said before, really. So like I said, breeding season's finished apart from the goldfinches. So the pair of goldfinches I have had a clear round at the first round. They are now on the second round, have started laying again. Although I did come in this morning to find that the egg that was laid this morning has been eaten. So when I come in tomorrow morning early, if I see an egg's been laid, I'll be taking it out and replacing it with a dummy egg, and I'll do that for the rest of the round, like I did in round 1. And then I think I'm probably going to remove the cockbird once the full clutch is laid and just see what happens. Again, like I said before, the goldfinch pair was kind of a nice little side project for me, and I just like having them in the bird room, to be honest. So if we breed some, then great, I've got the rings ready, but if we don't, you know, no big loss, but hopefully we'll get some. And obviously we've bred a couple in Norwich. I'll show you some photos that should be coming up in the meantime on the screen. Found that particular challenge this year, to be fair, obviously with the young hen, didn't really take to feeding particularly well, so I had to use some lizard hens to move the Norwich youngsters, and that also got challenging when the Norwich youngsters got bigger, because it kind of reached the point where they were literally probably as big, if not bigger, than the lizard parents, and the lizard parents didn't take too kindly to that. So, but anyway, we've managed to get a few off, so that's good news. The pair I had, I've actually moved on to some people who are just starting up, so hopefully that'll do them some good as well. So I've retained the youngsters. And I recently acquired, again, little side project, some Siberian bullfinches. Got them back here last week, particularly pleased with them, huge birds. But again, I'm kind of in two minds as to whether they're probably a little bit too big for what I've got here. So I'm kind of, I think native bullfinches would probably be okay in the setup that I've got here, although I am planning on potentially building some kind of flight cage that could house them. But maybe the Siberians are probably a bit too big for the setup here, so it might be a bit too ambitious trying to keep those. So again, I'll keep everybody posted as to whether they stay in the bird room or whether they move on. Let's wait and see. So, like I said, birds are well and truly in the molt. I've got the colour food in the water. I'm going to carry on with that for this year, despite the mess. Although I have noticed in the Dave Rand's cages, they're much easier to clean than it was for me with the wire cages that I had before. So I'm pretty happy I can get the cages back to where they should be from that point of view. But next year I might change what I'm doing, and I might sort of abort the idea of the water and go back to what I did years ago with colour food in the soft food, because it clearly makes a lot less mess. So a lot more cleaning involved, and I think it's just better for the birds as well, to be honest. So but I'll carry on with what I'm doing with the water for now, and let's kind of see how we go. I've been doing a little bit of showcase training with the birds. That normally involves popping a border canary show cage on the outside of the cages. I have a piece of string with a little bit of honey on the end of it hanging, so that when the birds pop in, they immediately stretch for the honey on the end of the string, and it kind of steadies them a little bit. I also tend to do that when it gets close to the shows as well, because I think it does, when they're stretching like that, it does kind of help them line up the spangles on the back a little bit as well. But maybe that's just psychological for me, but it seems to work. I kind of think it does. So let's kind of see how that goes. I'll do a little bit more about training, I think, when I do a future episode getting closer to the show season. But on the whole, yeah, pretty happy with the way things have gone. Would have liked to have bred more. I think the fact that I only ran with 5 pairs was probably a bit ambitious, particularly when one pair definitely blanked. I think next year I'm going to have to retain 6 pairs at least. Not necessarily for my own purpose in terms of getting the numbers for showing. I'm quite comfortable with that, but it's more about, you know, there are a number of people that want birds. So what I'll probably end up doing this year is, amongst a few friends that we all have similar bloodlines, we'll probably get our heads together and make sure that people get pairs from a few of us. You know, we'll pool resources to satisfy people, I think, going forward. But like I said, 2 or 3 people I have actually promised pairs of birds, and I will keep to that promise. But like I said, would have liked to have had more. to satisfy a few more people, but I'll definitely do something about that for next year. That's kind of it from me. It's a very, very brief one this time, but just wanted a quick check-in, let you know where we are, and we will check in again as the molt comes to an end and we approach the show season. In the meantime, wish you all a good summer, and hope it's not too hot in the bird room for you. Thankfully it's cooled down a bit now, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Goodbye.